Hello,
Hello, hello,
everybody.
hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Content Creators Connect. Here, we are all about encouraging the three C's, connecting with others via video, a content development that builds your personal brand, and creators sharing their experiences despite their distance.
The C3 team member leading the discussion this evening is Dory, known to everyone as D. Spence, is using her superpowers to install confidence to those around her and helping others become experts in their own adventures. Dory, you decided to focus on finding your niche tonight. I'm very curious as to why you decided to do that.
Okay, I'm going to get really real and super honest. So, first of all, to say I'm multi passionate, it would probably be an understatement. Um, I like to call myself a Renaissance woman, if you will. But because of all of that, I have really struggled with finding my content niche, as both of you guys know, for a really long while now. So I decided to do a workshop style episode tonight where hopefully you guys can give me some feedback. Those jumping in can give some feedback and find some answers to the much anticipated question, what do I create content about? So, Manny, I'm really interested to hear your take actually because you live in two really diverse worlds right now with your streams. So, I guess my question to you is how did you come up with the idea to settle on your social media business and then your true crime stream?
That is a great question. To sum it up, when it came to social media, I'm a true believer that if you want to be known as something, you should educate on that something. I truly believe that one of the ways to attract people to you is the knowledge you bring to your industry, the knowledge you bring in an online world. So for me, when I was diving into it, it was like it's not an option really. I'm a true believer in what social media can do for you. So when it comes to streaming, now, when I made the decision to jump into true crime, I had to ask myself, am I going to have time? Am I going to make time? Right. And it was a tough decision because I knew I was breaking into an industry that is, many would say, is even saturated, but yet a lot of people are jumping into true crime, right? In YouTube. And I could have easily said, I don't want to challenge like that where now I'm trying to monetize that place. But I also knew that there was opportunity. And if I could just put what I knew as the expertise that I am very well aware that I truly believed in myself. But here's my problem. And this is why I'm really excited about tonight. I'm like you, I do struggle. I sometimes want to just wait tables to be a good server. Like I love to do different things to help other people. And so now we're getting into real estate investing, my wife and I. And one of my clients, he's like, "You're so great at this stuff. Now, yeah, I bet you're going to start your own another YouTube channel where you're doing this around." And I was like, I'm thinking time, right? Who has time? That was in the back, and I'm like, I know I've been thinking about it, but here is the truth. If you make time for it and you're passionate about it, I think every single day you look forward to doing that. So being in a faceted way of it is like, oh my God, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. I want to talk about this. My deal is if I start another YouTube channel, it's with my wife. That's it. I'm not going to do it on my own. So I know that's going to make her step out of her comfort zone. That's the only way I would probably do another YouTube channel because I'm already we're meeting every single Sunday night. I do other different things with a lot of Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter live. So it's like I'm always streaming and I'm helping with other people and their passion. So I see a lot of the multi way of doing this. So for me, like I'm a true believer that if you make time for it and you're truly passionate about it, everything else will come together. That's why, in my opinion, the True Crime Channel worked out because I went all in and I made time for it. So that's my thought. Kevin, I know I'm sorry I went a little long there, but what do you think?
Well, I'm sort of in I guess, a transition or a flux stage right now because I'm just not getting the engagement that I thought I was going to get in my niche. So I am actually looking at possibly jumping over and doing something else. And now this came at the right time because I need to focus and narrow down because I'm like you both. It's like I like talking and helping other people with so many different things. So it's like, how do I narrow it down? Because unfortunately, I made sort of a wrong turn and spent a lot of time on it. So now I have to sort of take a few steps back, refocus, and find out, okay, what is something that I'm passionate about, just like Manny, just like Dory, so that I can look forward to going and making that content and putting buddy to consume and to help with their, whether it be live streaming or whatever I decide my new niche to be. So I'm very looking
That's
forward to
awesome.
what Dory has to offer today. If this is a type of content that you guys are wanting to see more of, please consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell as well as everyone is pointing to right now. So you get to know when we go live. So rather than waiting any longer, have my notes, my rocket book here, ready to take notes from Dory for all these golden nuggets of wisdom that you're willing to share. So kick it off, Dory.
Again, no pressure. Actually, there isn't. There is no pressure because tonight is all about a workshop style session. So if you're joining us and you're willing to hop into the comments, feel free to answer some of these questions for yourself along the way. I know that when we reach the connect stage tonight, I am going to be looking very forward to hearing what both Manny and Kevin have to say about some of these things. So I just want to explain where this even came from. I have been identified as what you might call multi passionate. And I am okay with that. When I first started content creation, and I don't know if this is something that hit home with you guys as well, but when I first started diving into learning about putting myself out there, everyone kept saying, you need to find your niche. You need to find your niche. Whichever word you want to use, that's it. And I got nervous because they said, well, you need to start with what you know and you need to start with what you love. And I said, well, I know a lot and I love a lot. So where does that leave me? And they said, well, it's not impossible, but it's easier for people who are more focused. And I'm not going to lie, guys, when I was told that by a professional, I got really disheartened. I really did. And I thought, man, maybe this streaming thing, it's not for me. If I can't figure out what I want to stream about, maybe I need to be looking elsewhere. And so I kind of put it on the shelf for a really long time, as both of you already know, because we've had this conversation countless times. So I thought, you know what, damn it, for once and for all, I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to move forward, and that's going to be the end of it. And so, hence the multi passionate peep presentation. Man, that's a lot of P's. So, let's start with what is your niche? Um, And by definition, a niche is just another word for the main topic around which all of your content will be created and the primary audience you will target. It is a specific group of people and their needs that you can distinguish in some way. Now, this is um, this is very interesting to me because, we have the who's your ideal client, who's your target audience, and there are a lot of examples out there of ways to identify who that particular person is. We are not actually going to travel down that road tonight. We're going to start first with what I think is more important, identifying really at your core who you are. And I think that it is really important to note that the reason why you really should find your niche is, and I know we've talked about this countless times on this channel already, when you are trying to talk to everyone, you end up talking to no one, zero. So, that's a mistake that I made early on in some of these classes when they say, well, who are you trying to talk to? And I say, well, anybody with this problem. And they said, well, that's too broad. You're going to end up missing the boat because you are trying to put out content that addresses far too many demographics and far too many target audiences. And I said, okay, well, that's fair. But I still never really knew how to niche down. So these are some things. Oh, I just heard an echo. I think Manny's fixing his headphones. These are some things to consider when you are trying to figure out who and what your niche actually lives in. And I thought that these were some really interesting headings in an article that I was reading. And the first was identify your knowledge and skills. Well, that and the second one, your passion, those are probably the absolute easiest things for me. And I don't know, gentlemen, if you want to give me some head nods there, if those are the two things that are the easiest for you to identify as well, right? I mean, so my knowledge, my knowledge and skills, they cover a wide variety of things. But I can very easily point my fingers to things like technology, computer science, teaching, I consider to be a skill. Communication skills, being able to talk to people, I consider that to be a skill. So I have a pretty good running list of knowledge and skills. Passions. There's something where, people say, oh, I have a lot of passions. Here's the thing that I read in this article that I thought was a really brilliant aha moment for me. What is something that you love so much that you could sit in a room and talk to someone or someones for 5 hours straight on this topic without getting bored? And I thought, okay, I appreciate that question because that takes my list of like 12 things I'm passionate about down to maybe 6. So I thought that was a good thing to consider. Demand. This is where you start getting into the things that I never pay any attention to, and that's kind of like the marketing aspect of it. That's the business end of it. And this is something I want to bounce off of you guys tonight in terms of my content creation as a business versus my content creation as a passion. Because I consider creating my content to be one of my passions. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So So these last three things on this list are things that I've never really considered. One is your demand. So when you're looking at your niche, is this a topic where there is high demand for it? And you use tools like Answer the Public, Google Trends, tools that help you with keyword searches and things to determine if this is in fact something that anybody other than you and maybe 2% of the population care about. Which actually brings up a really good point and slides right into the next thing to consider, which is audience specificity. It goes back to that idea of niching down for the purpose of being able to actually talk to someone. And, I just mentioned about having a connection with 2% of the population. If you think about it, 2% of the population, that's
It's a
still
lot.
not a bad number to be talking to, right? I mean, that's just math. That's basic math. It's okay if you're only talking to 2% of the population because that's a whole lot of people you're connecting with. And then the last one. And the last one, although I've never considered it from a marketing standpoint, competitive differentiation. Say that 5 times fast. Competitive differentiation. Here's where I'm at with that. I've never considered things like SEO. I know, Manny, please don't fall out of your chair on me. All the things that you focus on, like I'm just not there yet. Like I've never focused on SEO. I've never focused on marketing. I've never focused on email lists. None of that. And I still don't have any of those. But when you are thinking about your competitive differentiation, the biggest thing that sticks out to me is what makes you different than the other people providing the same niche. Talking in the same niche, providing the same type of service. What makes you different? And that I already know. I can answer that question right now. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Number one, my quirky personality. I really believe that my personality brings something that others don't share in the same space. Now, let me talk about the space I'm discussing. I'm talking about, one, the technology space. If you think about videos that you watch in the niche regarding technology coaching, things like that, they're very educational in nature. They're very informative. They are very cut and dry. These are the steps that you follow. And to be honest with you, there is a very huge market for videos like that. I'm never going to produce a video like that because I think it takes away too much of my personality. I don't want my personality to end up on the cutting room floor, if that makes any sense. So for me to have those really short, succinct, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3, go get it done. I tried it. It didn't work. I couldn't do it. And then my other niche that I focus a lot of time in is the realm of confidence and motivation and just, daily living. And I think from that standpoint, I think what sets me apart are a couple things. One, I am not a trained psychologist trying to teach you how to motivate yourself. I'm not talking at you. I'm talking with you. And I'm doing it from a standpoint of personal experience. Every single day when I do my daily lives, I am connecting it with an experience that I had, whether it be me witnessing the experience happen to a friend, a family member, a student, a colleague, or something that immediately happened to me. So I think in both of those examples, I think I do have what I now understand to be a competitive differentiation between myself and other people in that space. Also, with the motivational style videos that exist, unless you're watching a TED Talk, if you're listening to motivational videos, there's no visual aspect to them. They're panning through what? Still images. They've got some soft music playing. It's very like, which again is not me. I feel like the bright lights and the glasses and just like the high energy, I think I bring something to that I've not seen other places with that type of content. I know we just spent a long time on that slide, but I wanted to break down. I thought this was a really good resource, and it gave some really good things to consider when trying to get into your niche. And I'm gesturing over here because I'm pointing to my non-existent screen that you can't see on camera. But I'm still going to do it because I'm Italian, damn it. Okay. Another resource that I actually considered, I went through some of these earlier, and I just punched my microphone. Did you guys hear that? Did you hear me punch
Yep.
my mic? Great. So
It was
these were some
soft.
questions to consider. And the first one is which platform or platforms do I want to experiment with? Well, I love the social media space. I'm already active on Facebook. I'm, I want to be active on YouTube. The rest of them, I mean, they're there. If I can multi-stream to them, I would be more than happy to do that. But as far as like putting forth effort to post different content on different platforms, I'm just not there time-wise. So which platforms do I want to experiment with? I'm basically there with Facebook and YouTube. What are all of my passions? I feel like, I have a really good handle on those. Who are the content creators I admire? And then why am I drawn to them? So I love content creators who are real, raw, passionate, high energy. I like watching people where I feel that they are not scripted. Why I'm drawn to them, I want to see them. I am not drawn to content creators who like never show their faces. I want to see, I want to connect, I want to make eye contact with them through the lens. And then the last question, which I just realized I was going clockwise until the end, and then I just kind of, whatever. Which 5 or 6 topics would I really enjoy talking about? And then of those 5 or 6, which have the potential for growth? And again, I feel a little icky with that last one because it gets into that marketing realm again, which I totally suck at. So I think these were some additional really good questions for those that are struggling. I think the platforms question is interesting because I think that's going to help guide not only what content you produce, but then how you produce it. You think about like TikTok, which you're never going to see this girl on TikTok ever, 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 ever.
Oh, come on, Dory.
But that's, that's short form. That's short form. So you don't have to worry about creating like super scripted, long form content. You want to focus on short form and your editing skills with TikTok. Same thing with Instagram Reels, and even YouTube Shorts, which I have not tried yet. So I really love these questions to consider. And the content creators I admire, I really, really loved doing that exercise because I realized that is how I set up my content streams. The people that I've been drawn to, that I've gotten energy from, are those that I emulate those same characteristics, I think, in my own streams. Or maybe I just notice them now. And I notice the similarities between myself and some of these other content creators. So I had asked myself a lot of questions, and I had gone through a lot of exercises to brainstorm in preparation for tonight. And then while going down that rabbit hole, I have got to introduce you guys to an idea that lives out there. The concept is called Ikigai. I had to make sure I pronounced it correctly. It's not Ikigai, it's Ikigai. And it's a Japanese concept that refers to something that gives a person a sense of purpose, a reason for living. And yes, I am that naive person who thinks that I can find my purpose for living and I can make that my content, which will ultimately make me money. Crossing both of my fingers and all of my toes. So the Ikigai method basically presents you with a Venn diagram with 4 main questions. What you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and then what you can be paid for. And I love this graphic. It's so simplistic. But of course, going down the rabbit hole, I then discovered that there is a very similar method. I see that, Manny. I see that message. There is another method by a gentleman by the name of Jim Collins, and he calls it the hedgehog method, which, listen, you all know I am a lover of animals. So if it has anything to do with animals, like, sign me up for the hedgehog method. And he actually has a book, which I just subscribed to on my Kindle as a result of this research I was doing. Let me find the name of the book. What happened to my screen? It is called Good to Great: Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't. So just giving a little bit of background on Jim Collins. When I first found this hedgehog concept, I found a graphic that compared the two in terms of the Ikigai concept having 4 key questions, the hedgehog concept having 3. And when the hedgehog concept was first developed, he developed it in accordance with companies. And so the language was slightly different in his first iteration. But then he put out, I think it was actually a TED Talk. Yes, I'm addicted to TED Talks. Save me.
There's
But
nothing wrong with
he,
that.
he actually converted some of the questions so that they could be scaled down to more of an individual, which is what you see on the screen right now. So he modified his original 3 questions to kind of he almost took the financial aspect out of it, and he replaced it with something somewhat more individual in nature. So what I did was I took these 2 concepts and I started brainstorming. So one of the things that I love about both of these is it doesn't start with money. And when I get into a project, like when I niche down, I want to make sure that I'm doing it for the reason that I want to be doing it for, which is I want it to be a passion project, which will then ultimately sustain me financially. I don't want to enter into it with the financial aspect of it in mind first and then have all of the other things try to fit into those already pre established, round peg, square hole kind of thing. So, with the hedgehog concept, one of the key things that he talks about is number 2, where it says, "What are you genetically encoded for?" And I really, really love this. Have either of you ever met someone and you see, maybe you've had to go to a hospital and you've met a nurse or a doctor who, after caring for you, you're like, that's what they were meant to do?
Like they were so great at the way they made me feel that I'm like, man, you are in your place. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And, you know, I think about that in terms of like, I'm not a parent, I don't have children of my own, but I feel like I was genetically engineered to be a teacher. And I feel like that doesn't have to necessarily be in a classroom with 4 walls with teenagers sitting in front of me. I feel like the idea of being a teacher can mean so many things. But I'm not going to lie, guys, I got a little emotional when I was thinking about some of this stuff. And I thought, because I, listen, we're just chatting tonight. This is just workshop mode, right? So I feel like I'm destined for something beyond a high school classroom. That doesn't mean what I do with my kids is any less valuable to me. I just feel like it's not my end game. It's not my end destination. And then my kids at school say, "You can never leave us. Like, you can't ever leave." And I'm like, eh. I don't know a life without going into that school building every day. So I don't know. I don't know what I don't know.
You don't know what that looks like in that world.
I don't. I don't know if I would utterly hate it. I don't know if I walked away from a traditional classroom to do something different. I don't know if I would, at my core, change because I didn't have those experiences with those kids every single day. I don't know.
I actually think that you would thrive in a different environment, although you would still be teaching, but you have all the skills necessary to go from a teacher in a classroom to a teacher online, to a community to help them. Uh, you have, like you said, you have the personality. So being in person or being over a camera doing live video, your personality definitely does come through, and you're very engaging to get your audience to participate in what you are teaching. So it may not be in person, it may be through a cable, and that person may be on the other side of the world, for instance. But you definitely do have those skills that are transferable, but yet you're still staying in that teaching realm.
Yeah,
Okay.
very well said. I think that that makes a lot of sense in the way that you are still teaching and you're always teaching. So, but the question is, maybe you want to reach a wider audience through this line of teaching online because you do get to reach a lot wider audience.
Yeah. Yeah,
You said something that caught my attention with the genetically encoded for that's what you were referring to as to like being a teacher.
mhm.
And I feel like a lot of your passion comes from being if I'm hearing this for the first time, so I'm not too familiar with I don't know that I've heard of the hedgehog concept, but you said you feel like you're genetically encoded for teaching. So I would feel like maybe that's a little hard to even want to like if you're so perfect for that, that's even harder to really let go because here's the truth, it's kids and they can use as much guidance as possible. Right. So it's like
Right.
if you are genetically encoded for this and you can wake up every day and you never have one of those, oh my gosh, I don't, well, I mean, maybe you do, but you don't very often or something. But I truly believe that if you are meant for that and you don't have those days where you're dreading it and you absolutely love doing it, that's one thing that I think it would be hard to just turn away from. I feel like there's a match they're made in heaven. Like the kids love you, they can't believe it. You love doing it. But if you're trying to step away because you want to pursue something else as to like we're not going to be here for the rest of our lives, right? There's another portion to our future. There's always another portion.
Well, here's where that comes from. So when I'm going to talk a little bit about like my expertise type of thing. So when I am dealing with people that feel less than confident with their technology abilities, being able to figure things out, so on and so forth. I have been told by countless people um, that I have a knack for being able to just talk to someone or talk someone through something in a way that like doesn't make them feel stupid, allows them to understand it, and then they walk away like with the confidence to try it. Whereas like some people when they're explaining something, they talk down to you and they talk to you, so instead of bringing you up, they kind of push you down and they talk at you like you couldn't figure out how to tie your own shoe sometimes. And I've experienced people like that in the technology field. I've experienced people who they have gone to someone with questions, things that they just cannot figure out, things that they're willing to give, their best effort in trying. They want to step outside their comfort zone a little bit. And then they get talked to like, you don't know how to do that? Oh my God, how stupid are you? That like, and it angers me and
Mhm.
saddens me both to hear of these experiences. Now, I'm talking both in the education world and I'm talking in just the general world. I spent 8 years working at Best Buy in a part-time job while I was teaching full-time. And invariably, the people that would come in the store that would have questions and concerns over how to do something, they would be miraculously escorted to me. Even though I wasn't even working in Geek Squad, they would be escorted to me because they knew I would take the time, have the patience, and be able to explain it in terms that the person would understand. And I would have so many people thank me for, not making them feel stupid, for helping them understand. So I feel like when I say that I was born to teach, I feel like even that is teaching. Agree?
Yes. Yes.
100%.
100%.
And
And
yeah,
then
I was going to say that you and I think we were drawn together because we share a lot of those same values as well. Because what you said, I've had that said to me as well. and helping that person figure out. You may know what the answer is and you could give it to them right away, but you want to help them to learn how to figure it out themselves. So having that patience and listening and explaining to them in their language definitely takes a certain skill to be able to do that. So, no, I definitely do resonate and can appreciate what you're saying there, Dory.
Yeah, and that's why I think, the whole concept of teaching but not in a traditional classroom could still, you know, keep me kind of in my lane. But then I also look at the other thing that I feel like I was put here to do, and that was confidence and like boosting people up. And I feel like, and this is weird because I feel like the other big thing is that the way I talk to my kids at school and the things that I try to get them to value and the things I try to get them to understand, I feel like I could really, really help them in their confidence. And I talk about confidence and motivation and stuff in the morning in my dispense dish. And I know that they're not my audience. I mean, if they're watching, which I know that some of them do, it's not because we're friends on Facebook. Like I keep those lines. I'm still a professional, but they can still go out and watch my content. I just don't interact with them. But I think that, even adults need to hear that in the morning. Like, come on, get your booty in gear. Like, there's something that has to be done today. Like, let's talk about it. Maybe it's a struggle you had, whatever, and then we move past it. But I think the thing that I do in my classroom, like I always tell my kids, anybody can walk in here and teach you how to push buttons on a computer. Anybody could do that. Anybody could read a book and figure out how to complete this task and then talk you through the exact same thing. Anybody can do that. I am a firm believer in that. I am not anyone special in that regard. I feel like my special relationship with my kids comes more in trying to get them to understand their own worth and trying to get them to realize that, the things that are happening to them right now is not it's not going to make or break them for the rest of their lives. And so the other thing is this whole idea of, talking to kids on a broader scale. Using my experience as a teacher, using my own experiences as a completely messed up teenager who like completely hated herself and just, you want to talk about going down a rabbit hole of like lack of confidence, you can just look no further than this girl. Um, and I feel like all those things, like my own origin story, I feel like I need to share that with people too, and so like, so this is where I'm at. Like, I did some brainstorming and this is just a short list. It wasn't even everything, like I'm passionate about reading. I'm passionate about camping. I'm passionate about Dungeons and Dragons. Like, and I'm passionate about Dungeons and Dragons, I think, because of my connection with confidence. Because to me, D&D allows you to kind of like step outside of who you are and just explore being somebody else and gives you a chance to explore different aspects of your personality, and also it's fun as hell to be a wizard and kill things with fireballs. Anyways. Also, that's the geek in me, so you're never going to get rid of that. Teaching, confidence, motivation, these are all huge passions that I have. And I feel like all of these things drive me every day. And then I just went on and like, what am I good at? And, anytime, like, if you guys want to like drop anything else in here, feel free. Like, I want this to be collaborative. If you guys see things on here that you maybe don't think are on, should be on there, or things that I didn't think of that should be on there. Like, I'm good at teaching. I'm good at motivating. I feel like I'm good at making people laugh and smile, which are two different things. You can make somebody smile, not necessarily make them laugh. I feel like I'm good at leading, and I feel like I'm really good at technology. Um, Kevin's dropping in patient and good at listening. Whoops, I'm in presentation mode, so I can't edit my slides. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I'm not always patient. I feel like I do, even though I talk a lot and I like to talk, there's a reason why I do. And that comes from my childhood where I didn't like the sound of my own voice and I didn't like talking because people made fun of how I spoke. Um, it's actually fun fact why I taught myself sign language, because I had this great idea that I was going to join the deaf world and their community, and I wasn't going to have to talk anymore and use my voice because nobody could understand me because I
Wow.
had a speech problem. So, yeah, there's a lot of layers to this onion. um and yeah, but I think I've spent a large part of my life listening from the standpoint of, just because I did it so much when I was little. Like, I was everybody's go-to when I was younger. Like, I was the ears and the shoulder in the friend group. Um, I was trying to like fix everybody's problems and things and stuff. And yeah. And then the second part of this got harder. What the world needs. And I didn't know how to relate that to me, so I just talked in generalities. And I feel like some of this stuff is like super cheeseball, but I didn't really know what else to say. So sorry, Manny. Um, the world needs teachers who care, not that they're not just there for a paycheck. And I firmly believe that, and I will say that to teachers that I work with, that you need to be here for the kids and not for the paycheck. Um, People need more self confidence. They need more technology skills. Technology is going nowhere. They need people who call themselves leaders because they lead by example and not because they said so. The world needs people to believe in them, and the world needs patience and optimism. I don't know. Do I have my head too
I
far in
love
the
it.
clouds?
I love it. I mean, it is true. I mean, it's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not
Um,
cheesy at all. It's accurate.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kevin.
and then the last thing is, what can I be paid for? I mean, I'm already getting paid to be a teacher, so I know I can get paid for that. I don't know. Is there money in being a motivational speaker? You know,
Long term,
is there money in tech coaching? I mean, is that something you do online? Is that something that you do in person? Is that,
Yes to
I
all of the above.
I'm a good writer. Um, I'm a good performer. Ba-dum-bum. Um, so I don't know. I don't know if any of this helps me niche down or not. But I feel like these are questions like, you know, and this is the last thing, which is not a brainstorm type of thing, but these are two, for those that are watching that are struggling with the same thing. Hopefully you can spend some time, get out of your own head. Just answer these questions honestly, and then go back and revisit your answers, or do what I'm hoping to do, which is get input from other people that I value. Um, but then ultimately take some of these ideas and put them into some of these online resources that exist to see, it goes back to that demand question. Are these things people are looking for actively to solve their pain points, to solve their problems? And two great resources are Google Trends and Answer the Public. Um, Google Trends is just trends.google.com, and you type in a keyword. The thing I really love about Google Trends is that it gives you those related topics. And I know Manny has talked at length about this. So I'm not going to focus on the resources. I wanted to focus more about the journey tonight. Um, and then the other one is called Answer the Public. And that one I just love because of the diagram it gives you, like as a result. And that's just answerthepublic.com. And there is a free or paid version of that. And it kind of focuses around the 5W questions. But then there's a preposition wheel that crops up, which would lead you down a whole rabbit hole of other potential, you know, content topics and things. So I'm going to end and come back to the three of us because I'm really kind of excited. You know, we took a little bit of a deep dive. We looked at some key questions, how you can take your multi-passionate stuff maybe and find a niche from it. I just kind of can't wait to hear what the guys have to say for that. And Manny, I think I'm going to shoot it on over to you first over there.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you for getting the juices flowing. Thank you for getting it where I remember a lot of this of, really asking myself, what is it that I want to dive into? And let me tell you, I feel like my whole journey, I truly feel has been a positive mindset, educational type, always having to feed myself. When I started focusing on what I'm putting in my head, that really helped a lot. You were asking, what is it, different questions. What do you love? What is it that you really want? And not necessarily really want, but more like, what are you good at? Things you have to really dive deep in. And like, when it comes to your niche, for me, I did have to ask myself, how am I going to make money? Right? How am I going to make money doing this? One of the things I feel like you didn't mention when it came to how you could make money is affiliate marketing, where you can easily just send them to something that is like, this is part of the content that I'm creating. And here is, hey, check out this, because we were talking about mics and you've taught me so much when it comes to technology. You've taught me a lot where we've jumped on calls and you're helping me test stuff and get things together. So it's like when I think about my niche and what you did tonight with this workshop, I did not go as deep as I should have, as you brought, because I'm not familiar with a lot of that, but I did have to sit down and really ask myself, who am I talking to? How am I going to use this? How am I going to monetize this? And so I kind of started with the monetization part and then worked my way back and said, this is how I'm going to focus on this platform and that platform. And so I'm really seeing lots of opportunity when I really dug in with the true crime part, making that the niche. I am still refining my message though. At 2 years, I'm still working on that. So thank you again, because this really helped. This really helped I, I'm not even exaggerating. Like I literally have notes all the way through here. Like, and when you think about the which platform experience, I like to believe it's like, where are you spending a lot of your time at? Because your audience is everywhere, but where are you spending a lot of time? Man, you really got me thinking. I'm sorry. Okay, okay. Kevin, what do you think?
Well, similar to you, my juices definitely did get flowing throughout all of her presentations. And similar to you, uh, talking about platform choice, that definitely brought up questions and how much time that am I spending on each of them. And I found that I'm spreading myself too thin across all of them. So it's like multiple Facebook pages, multiple community groups on Facebook, and then Instagram, then Twitter, and just posting messages out there. It's like, yeah, you can drive them to a website as well. And so maintaining a website of content, um, definitely does fill up the time, but what platform are you wanting to focus on? To what is your ideal customer avatar? Uh, who are you talking to? Who do you want to ultimately become part of your community that you could provide the help and provide a product that will help solve their problem? So I know I have to spend, I maybe just need to get away, head to the mountains for a weekend and just do brainstorming. Bring all my whiteboards, my uh, post-it notes, and just go nuts in a hotel room and post everything, and just go crazy and think about anything and everything, and then narrow it down into the different topics that you did discuss. And I really like the hedgehog concept, because it is more focused on the individual as opposed to a company. So I'm definitely going to be looking further into that and sort of use that as a, I guess, a map to sort of get my thoughts together. So I do appreciate you bringing that up and teaching us about that tonight. So, and yeah, the last thing that I was very curious about is going through and finding what the world needs, because the audience that you're talking to, it's like it may be maybe that 2%, but it could be also that 0.02% that you're hearing from. So is that a large enough audience for you to monetize your products as well, whether it be a teaching, a classroom, or a tutorial or a workshop or something like that. So you really do need to look at the audience as well. So um, yeah, I totally loved the content, and it did get my juices flowing. So yeah, I learned a lot tonight. So thank you so much, Story, for in teaching us.
Oh, you're welcome. I taught you something. Wow, that's a shocker. Um, so
Dory, if I can add, I really love that you hit on something. If I hope I'm not, I hope this is okay. When you talked about something that separates one from another, the personality, like I'm so glad that you hit on that. Kudos big time. I That is to me, one of the biggest things, because that's what I love about you and what you do is your personality, the way you even introduce yourself, the way you introduce when you're talking online, and maybe it's the mic because you have some awesome mics too. But but great job, I love it. I'm glad you talked about that. That really hit me hard.
it's funny that you said that because I worried that I was gonna come off as sounding egotistical. And then I thought, no, you know what? I need to practice what I preach with my kids. And I tell my kids at school all the time, you need to find your superpowers and you need to lean into them. And if I can't, as the person giving them that message, pat myself on the back for something that I know sets me apart is one of my superpowers, then I have no business talking to them about that, because I would be a giant hypocrite if I didn't own what I know makes me unique. And my weirdness makes me unique, and I am okay with that. But that's still, so I'm going to end on this, and this is going to be a little bit of a cliffhanger. I don't know is that I am any closer to finding my niche after answering all of these questions. I just don't know, because I could start streaming about technology and I could teach people how to use social media and I could show people how to use Microsoft Excel and I could show people how to do things until I'm blue in the face. And I could do it in a way where, I don't edit my personality out. My videos will be 2, 3 times longer than other people's content in that area. I could do that. I could stream about Dungeons and Dragons because you all know I could totally lock myself in a room and talk about Dungeons and Dragons for 5 hours at a time. I play like multiple hours a week. And then I feel
So how
like
come you don't do that? How come you don't do everything around Dungeons and Dragons? If that's what, like you said, I could lock myself in a room and get away with, like, why don't you then? Like, then do it. Like, if you really love to do that, that you can monetize over time. And you can go live, you can live stream your stuff, you can live with an audience of that. Again, gaming is a different beast itself, but in my mind, if I could break into true crime and still make something work, your personality is so unique in its own world. And with all of your experience throughout everything, how you had to overcome what you felt was a setback, I mean, do it and have fun with all these colors that you bring. To me, I'm like Dungeons and Dragons playing all the time, and look at your background. Look at the color. Look at your glasses. You bring a different Spunky Brewster. Remember her? So like you bring your own uniqueness to this. So it's like run with it, get in that dungeon and lock the doors and go live, have fun with it. Bring your fun voice out into it. I love that voice, the way you're like, it has to be, I'm a firm believer, it has to be the right audience. It has to be the right people that are uh, attracted to your personality. That's who you want to attract anyway. So it works perfect,
right.
right? You don't want to attract someone who doesn't like your quirkiness. You want the person that loves your quirkiness. And there's a lot of them out there.
Well,
And they're
I
Dungeons and
mean,
Dragons fans.
yeah, because we're all geeks. Um, I mean, the other thing, the other niche that I really feel like just the whole idea of like talking about like, you know, motivation, confidence, all that kind of stuff. Like it's kind of more of the off the cuff that I do like in the morning with the dispense dish on my Facebook. You know what I mean? Like I pick something and I go with it. And I feel like could I marry that with trying to break out into like motivational speaking? Could I travel to schools and talk to kids about all the things I struggled with, about how the tops of my shoes were my best friend because it was the only thing I would stare at in the hallways? Like, could I do that? And then would my
Uh,
audience then only be kids? Like, how could I stream if my audience was only kids? You understand, like, where my mind is at with all of this?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I know that
I
I'm not the only one out
absolutely,
there.
I see a huge opportunity for that. Is that the kids wouldn't be your audience, your target for the streaming. You're
Exactly.
targeting school administrators,
And
and they would want
teachers.
you to come in and speak live to the kids at doing presentations like that. So create I don't know whether it's going live or presenting videos and then reaching out to school administrators saying, hey, have a video or take a look at this video of my experiences growing up. I think this is relevant in today's society with kids growing up in schools. So, providing the resources for the administrators to come in and make an informed decision saying, hey, Dory knows what she's talking about. Let's get her in to talk to these kids because she has that quirky personality. Love her glasses that change in every single video. And
I have
yeah,
a
bring
lot.
her in.
And the teacher background would add a lot of credibility, I would say.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I stay down the dispense dish road, daily streams, focus on confidence, focus on motivation, focus on just life lessons. And I could also stream my role player role D&D stuff.
I like a D&D type dish, where that same personality that's just off the cuff talking, doing it while you're live streaming to D&D fans. I definitely am a big fan of that idea with you with the way your voice inflection can go up and down in some great ways. I would think that would be great for other D&D fans who are learning or following along. That to
Okay.
me would seem like something that would be attractive.
So, with that type of content, I can talk about my experiences as a player. I can talk about my experiences as a DM, the good, bad, and ugly of all of it. I could teach the tech aspect of it because a lot of D&D is
Nice.
played online now, so I can teach people how to use some of these tech tools.
Boom.
Oh my god, I keep punching my
That's
mic.
awesome.
Oh my god. Okay, we went really long tonight. I'm very sorry for those that stuck with
Yeah,
us. There are a few that have stuck with us, but I appreciate you guys workshopping with me. So
that was fun.
I think we're gonna send it on over.
My friends, if you enjoy content like this and you're finding it useful, we would love it if you'd like and subscribe. And sharing our content is also a great way to spread the love. And you can visit our website for information on all the ways that you can connect with us at that Linktree site right there in front of you /content creators connect. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
And also make sure to drop down in the comments some of the content that you would like to see. As you saw today, we went into a deep dive and we got our juices flowing about ideas that we potentially could do with our live streaming journeys. So if you want to make sure follow up to see the cliffhanger that Dory left us on and see where she goes from there.
And thank you for joining Content Creators Connect, aka C3, tonight as we took a look at helping multi passionate peeps like me find their niche. We return next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, where Kevin, this guy right up over here, we'll be talking about engaging your audience with mobile live streaming. Ooh, I can't wait for that one. We will be multicasting
Yeah.
live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, so be sure to join us. Until then, we urge you to identify and lean into your 3Cs. Start today creating unique content that builds connections and breaks down those barriers. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.